Hello, and welcome to Late Night Star Wars. We're going to be talking about a couple of things tonight. It is almost 4 o'clock in the morning, but I was just watching Star Wars The Clone Wars and scrolling through Tumblr, and I came across a post or two that really confused me. I'm going to put this candle down, even though it smells amazing, but I don't want to hold it the entire video. I am fully aware there is not very good lighting. I didn't really want there to be good lighting because I like the candles in the background more than that. And yes, you'll hear my dogs in the background, but whatever. I saw this post on Tumblr that said, Galaxy Horror Story, Kylo Ren's Redemption Arc. And I don't know what you want from the new trilogy, my dear. I really don't. Because there are really only two ways that this can go. Now, I know I harp on Kylo Ren. At first I hated his guts. Really, absolutely detested him and hoped that he would die. I really hated him. But the more that you kind of get him, the more you like him. And at this point I'm Kylo Ren trash, but it's because I really get him and I see his potential as a character and as a very important thing in this universe, aside from the fact that he is the big villain, aside from Snoke. But Snoke I don't really take seriously right now because I don't know who he is, but I will take him seriously as soon as I find out who he is. Like, if he's Darth Plagueis, then, well, this is going to be a little complicated, but not what we're here to talk about. Actually, I think there's something pretty cool that I could do for us right now. I am going to turn on some music because I think that would be very comforting. And yes, better lighting, isn't that nice? But as I try to find some music for us, I am going to talk. The thing is, there are but two ways that this can go. He can either A, go fully bad, or B, go good. And there's a redemption arc. And either way, for me, that is fine. The only component that is required if either thing happens is that they bring back Anakin Skywalker as a Force ghost, because that's the only way I could ever believe he could go fully dark. And I'm going to explain to you how and why that is in just a second, because it's going to be very, very loud. Yeah, I know. It's a really great song, right? The only way I could envision Kylo Ren ever going fully dark is if he basically told off Anakin Skywalker's ghost. And I can straight up write that scene right now. He's just like talking to Darth Vader's helmet again. Well, not really talking to him. He's just like sitting in his room talking and trying to connect with his grandfather. And he's basically lost. He's basically has no idea because he's never gotten any response from his grandfather before. Why should he be trying again? And he finally actually shows up. But he shows up behind him and puts his hand on Kylo's shoulder. And I know that's weird for a Force Ghost, but we saw Kenobi as a Force Ghost, and he looked like he could have touched you. But Anakin would have to come, touch his shoulder, and then try to convince him to go to the light side. And Kylo's looking at him, very confused, like, and then this expression comes across his face where he's just like, he's like angry, but that kind of like smoldering anger, but he's just like, you are not who I thought you were. And then Anakin looks at him like, what? And then he says, I admire Darth Vader. I don't admire the mistake Anakin Skywalker made at the end of his life. And that would sell me on him becoming fully dark. But any other way that they try to go about it, with the whole, oh, he completed his training, oh, he did this, oh, he killed his dad and suddenly he's fully dark. No. I don't buy it. I don't buy that. Because even after he killed his father, and he was hitting himself to get himself more angry, I don't buy that he's fully dark. And I don't think I really ever will buy that he's fully dark unless he tells off Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost. And I basically say that because it's just like there's no other believable way it could go. That he just naturally becomes fully dark? No. No, he's too edgy. And he's on the cusp of being either of them. And even if he completes his training, saying, oh, he completed his training, so now he's fully dark. No, that's a bullshit cop-out thing. The only way he could go fully dark, as I see it, is if he tells off Anakin Skywalker's ghost. Now, for the light side, I think it is also required that you bring back Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost. Because then it would be simple as hell. Like, I would think this would have to happen in episode 9, not episode 8. He's in his room. See my two diverging where I'm going? How I diverge in thought? He's in his room and he's trying to commune with his grandfather, but he's never gotten any response, and he's really, really lost, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's totally like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like what I'm doing is wrong, and I feel like I need to stop. But grandfather, I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid. I don't want to let you down. I don't want you to have died in vain. Anakin comes back and says this moving speech, and I did say something like this in another video, but he does, in my opinion, have to come back. And if he doesn't come back, I'll be very disappointed. But regardless of that, that really isn't the major point of what I'm trying to say. My major point is, what do people want from the new saga? What? Because this, whatever you try to say, this story is about the conflict between Rey and Kylo. Because every story is driven by character psychology and how characters react to situations. The main protagonist and the main antagonist are always the two people that the story revolve around. And the main antagonist is Kylo and the main protagonist is Rey. How are these characters going to interact? A lot of people are just like, they should get together and become a thing, and then she'll save Kylo. Because she'll show him how good he really is. And I'm just like, I don't ship Reylo at all. I can't see that as a thing. Because there's only sexual tension from one side, and it's Kylo's side. Rey, if anything, is confused by Kylo. She's not sexually attracted to him, and neither of them at this point could see each other romantically. But I also believe that they're first cousins, but that's another story. What do you want? You need to have the conflict. You can't just... I really don't know what the story could revolve around. Star Wars. The whole movie itself is about conflict. And I know people are just like, oh, these are old recycled plots. And I'm just like, you do realize that there are only like 7 plots in existence, right? Like, humans are creative, but we're not that creative. If you boil down every movie that has ever come out, forever, since the beginning of cinema, since the beginning of time, pretty much, because we've always had theater and shit like that, you boil down everything that's ever been written, everything that's ever been filmed, and there are like 7 plots. 7. So it's just like, yeah, this is a recycled plot. You want to know why? Because there are 7 plots in the whole of humanity and existence. And really, there's only two ways that this could go. He either goes fully dark or he goes light. And sure, I think Rey could have a very, very crucial part in helping him turn back to the light side. But I also think Anakin has to have a very crucial part in turning him back to the light. And I would really, really like it if Leia also gets really involved in this. Because it's his mother, and because she doesn't deserve what he put her through already. And her loving him after all this time, after killing her ex-husband, after turning to the dark side and basically trying to work to destroy everything she's worked for. Leia still loving him after all that time can really change everything. And yes, this sounds cliche as hell. But I hate to be upfront with you, everything about Star Wars is cliche as hell. I love Star Wars. I will proclaim its greatness to the end of time. But everything in this movie, in this series, is cliche. You can't not be cliche when there are 7 plots in existence. But I'm asking again, what do people want from this new saga? I know, people are just like, you want to know what would be really cool? If we find out that Rey is in fact Luke's daughter. And all of a sudden, Kylo actually does turn back to the light. Kylo does turn back to the light. And that's really cool. That's a really cool thing. But Rey turns dark. And I think that's a cool concept. But every single Star Wars movie that has ever come out has ended on at least a semi-happy note. Bittersweet occasionally, but happy nonetheless. Because the first one, I'm pretty sure ended with a ceremony of some sort. The second one, I don't actually remember what that one ended with, but it was definitely positive. Oh, it ended with Anakin and Padme getting married. The third one ended with Luke being handed over to his aunt and uncle. The fourth one, I don't remember how that one ended. Crap, I just watched this like 2 days ago. I don't even remember how it ended. The fifth one ended with basically Luke and Leia staring... Oh, no. Yeah, the fifth one ended with Luke and Leia staring out onto a planet. And the sixth one ended with Darth Vader turning back to the light side. Now, why wouldn't Kylo go have a redemption arc? Why? That is a serious question I want to pose to you. Why wouldn't he? He is not fully dark anyway. Darth Vader was fully dark until he met his son, and then he started questioning himself. So just like, oh, he shouldn't have a redemption arc. Like, what do you want with this character? Do you want his character to just disappear? The story must include Kylo Ren. The story must include Kylo Ren, but people are just like, I don't want him to have a redemption arc, but I want him to go fully dark, but there's only one way that could actually happen. And that's with bringing back Anakin Skywalker as a Force ghost. I don't see any other believable way that could happen. But then that would naturally require another trilogy. And as much as it seems like it's a good idea, really, I'm very nervous with how 8 is working out right now. Yes, I haven't seen 8. We don't know anything about 8 except that it's in rewrites. Very major rewrites very late into the game. And that makes me very nervous. But I'm very nervous about what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. But they either have to have him go fully light or fully dark. But fully dark is going to be a lot more complicated and it will require a lot more writing. And will require a lot more than him going fully light. And usually each saga ends with a certain amount of resolution. Because if you don't kind of end the Kylo Ren Rey thing, Kylo Ren and Rey arc, you're naturally required to have another trilogy. But adding another trilogy into the mix doesn't make 7 through 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I just have to do that in my head. It would be a saga in of itself. And yes, Anakin Skywalker was involved with the first 6, and that's A-okay, but he was Darth Vader for half of it. He was Darth Vader for half of it, and it was mainly Luke for the last 3. Like 4, 5, and 6 were mainly about Luke and Darth Vader. The first 3 were mainly about the story leading up to Darth Vader. So Anakin was the main focus. Anakin and kind of Padme. Also Obi-Wan, so it was kind of like the trio. So it was like Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan, that whole arc. Then it was Luke, Leia, and Han, that arc. Now you have Rey, Finn, and Kylo. I don't want to include Poe there because then it's a trio, but it's not. Because, like, yeah, okay, you could say it's Rey, Finn, and Poe as that trio, but each thing has a main antagonist. First it's Darth Sidious, then it's Darth Vader, now it's Kylo Ren. You can't really change that too much. Now let's say theoretically, they do make him go fully dark. And I know this is playing on repeat in the background, I love it. I think it's a very nice touch to this video. Let's say they have him go fully dark. How would that work? How? Just from a completely logistical standpoint, how would that work? How would we believe it? And how would they make another whole trilogy about Kylo Ren? How? Because it's going to be very difficult when you've already when you've already done a character for 6 hours and 45 minutes roundabout, and we've seen him go through so much already. How are we going to see him differently now? And what actually separates that saga from the next set of 3? That trilogy from the other trilogy that's naturally required now. The only way I could see that actually working is if Rey is killed off. And I don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to happen. The only thing that could actually naturally make it close, kind of, as a trilogy in of itself, is if they killed off Rey. I mean, you could argue and say they kill off Luke Skywalker, but honestly, he might die in the next one. I mean, Obi-Wan just up and died in the 4th one. Luke's lucky he made it to this one. But how are you going to make that trilogy a standalone trilogy when another trilogy is required after that? Because Kylo Ren is now fully dark. Tell me how that works, and I can live with it. And I don't even know if you can do response videos anymore on YouTube, because I rarely ever put up videos anymore. Like, the last video I put up before my first Star Wars review was like over 1.5 years ago. But, whatever. How are you going to make that a standalone trilogy from the other trilogy that is now required? And that's a big thing that writers and everyone has to consider when they just like, I want Kylo to go fully dark. How and why? How does that work, and how does it fit with the other things that are actually like fully Star Wars and canonically and in essence Star Wars? Because there is a certain progression of story that's already there. Like, everything's okay. Oh no, a Skywalker shows up and everything goes to shit. Oh shit! Is it? Oh great, the bad guy turned against his bad ways. Good. Or alternatively, everything's okay. Someone's getting a little angsty. Oh shit, he's bad fuck. He's bad fuck. And then everything goes to shit. There's a natural progression of story that's currently in place that would be very hard to maintain if it if Kylo goes fully dark. And that's my main concern, because I don't want them to change how that feels. The final resolution of the trilogy, just the 3 movies alone, are standalone in my opinion. They're completely standalone. They don't require any more story. Everything can be done. Everything can just be wrapped up. Because at the end of the other one, the end of the prequels, yeah, you want to know more, but you kind of already do because it's already out. But at the end of the prequels, everything's wrapped up because we see the entire Anakin arc into Darth Vader. And it's left a little open at the end because we know there's already more there. We see the whole Luke arc about finding out that he's a Jedi all the way to becoming a really fucking powerful Jedi and convincing his father to turn against the Empire, and then it's all wrapped up. Darth Vader's dead. It's wrapped up, it's done. And everyone's happy. But how would you naturally wrap up a trilogy like that when you already have a trilogy that's so complicated? You wouldn't have to kill off the main character. There's no other way. There's no way about it. Because at the end of the first trilogy, you killed off Anakin Skywalker, and Darth Vader was reborn from him. And at the end of the second trilogy, you killed off Darth Vader. You can't kill off the main antagonist twice in this case. Because Kylo Ren, if you try to kill him off, I hate to be this way, but if you kill him off at the end of this trilogy and then bring him back like Darth Vader, I will literally just up and leave. Because that's BS. You don't cop out with a character like him. Because he's very complex, complicated character. You can't just be like, done. No. No, I won't stand for that. You would have to kill off the main protagonist. Or someone very, very close to her. So, those at risk are Rey, Luke, and Finn. Poe, not so much, but it's possible. But really, it's more likely going to be Luke or Rey that would be killed off if he went fully dark. And that's very, very complicated and complex to deal with. Because now, the First Order is at the upper hand. And we've actually never been in a position where the First Order was actually with the upper hand. Sure, at the end of the first trilogy, we had Anakin Skywalker turn to the dark side. But there was hope because Luke and Leia were born. At the end of the second trilogy, it was a natural close with Darth Vader dying, and Luke and Leia and Han celebrating the liberation of the galaxy from the Empire. You have to think about that. How would this work? Would it work? Because I don't see it working. I personally don't see it working any other way than Kylo Ren going to the light. I honestly don't see it. Because it just wouldn't fit with how Star Wars is kind of set in the way it already works. I mean, that's my opinion. I could be wrong. But this is a legitimate opinion. And it's very, very hard for me to deal with. People are just like, well, if Kylo Ren has that redemption arc, I'll be pissed. Well, what do you want from him? You want him to go fully dark? You want him to go fully dark and then fuck up the entire way Star Wars is told? No. That's ridiculous, because Star Wars has a way of the story being told. You can't just change that for a character who could easily just change at any moment. Now, I don't know, but that's an opinion, and I hope you enjoyed it. May the Force be with you. And, yes, so, yeah, may the Force be with you, I guess.